Hi there. For my second COVID update, I would like to discuss a subject that I briefly touched on in the first video, and that is the subject of face masks. To wear or not to wear? That is the question. As I said in my video the other day, in Singapore, people aren't really wearing masks en masse at the moment, but from a personal point of view, myself and my family, we're wearing them when we go on public transport, just because it makes us feel safer, because, you know, there's a lot of people there. Somebody could be sick and not know and be wearing and not be wearing a mask. And as we know, this virus is pretty contagious. So it just gives us a bit of peace of mind when we're out and about. I mean, having lived in Taiwan for such a long time and immersed myself in the culture, I have no problem putting a mask on when I'm sick, because I just think it's a common courtesy to prevent you from spreading your germs around and making other people sick. Well, that is basically what's happening with the coronavirus. People are sick, they're out and about, they don't know they're sick, they cough, they maybe clear their throat or sneeze, the droplets escape into the air, somebody else breathes them in, they get sick. That's how it spreads. If people don't go out, it doesn't spread. It's that simple. So, wearing masks. I know in the Western world, people really frown upon the wearing of masks. They kind of think it's like an infringement on their civil liberties or something like that. I'm not really sure why they're so against it, but a lot of Westerners are against it, whereas Asian people, they've grown up with it, they've always done so. So for them, wearing a mask when you're sick or when there's a sickness around is second nature, and it's not a big deal. So I think the problem, and maybe one of the reasons the coronavirus spread so widely in the Western world and so quickly, is that people's reluctance to wear masks. Also, I mean, the governments of certain countries have told people not to wear masks, or they don't need to wear masks. In Singapore, the government very early said it didn't want people to wear masks, but that was purely from the point of view that they know people here like to wear masks, but they didn't want mass panic buying of masks, meaning there were shortages for medical staff, which is what's happening right now around the world. I mean, in the UK, the US, and several other countries, there's a shortage of masks for medical staff, and they're the ones who need it the most. If you've been keeping an eye on the news recently, I mean, you'll even know that because Western people are so against wearing masks, they've even actually verbally and racially abused Asian people in their societies for wearing masks on the street, you know? And that is just, well, apart from being terrible, it's also ridiculous. These people are wearing masks to protect themselves, but they're also helping to protect other people. So there's no logic whatsoever in abusing these people, because they're doing what everybody should be doing, in my opinion. I have a friend in Canada, and I'm a good friend of his from Taiwan for many, many years, and he's in Canada now, and he has been very vocal about the need for people to wear masks in Canada, because as from his experience, all the Canadians don't want to wear masks, whereas the Asian population of Canada are wearing masks. So there's kind of like a divide in society, opinion-wise, about whether you should wear a mask or not, or whether it's a good idea to wear a mask. And he's been really vocal about that, and I think it's probably beginning to have an effect, because certain provinces or states or countries are now actually advising people to wear masks to help stop the spread of the coronavirus. And the countries that are experiencing shortages, I mean, are even now advising people to wear cloth masks or homemade masks. In Japan recently, the Prime Minister announced a policy that they're going to give 2 cloth masks to every family in Japan. And he was widely ridiculed online about this policy, but in my opinion, it's only a good thing. Cloth masks, they may not be effective as the medical grade masks, but I mean, in my opinion, every little helps. If everybody who is not a doctor or a health worker were to wear masks when they go out, they may not be 100% effective, but if you've got one person wearing a mask and another person wearing a mask, that's 2 extra layers of protection that are only going to help to cut down the transmission of the virus. So, I mean, if it were up to me, I would be advising people to make some masks at home. I mean, what do you need? You need some material and maybe some shoelaces. You can make a mask. And then you can pad it with some gauze or even just tissue paper or a handkerchief. So you've got a couple of extra layers over your mouth when you go out, and it's going to help. I mean, on the subject of masks, people are saying they've never experienced anything like this pandemic before. The coronavirus pandemic, it's a global thing now. People are dying all over the world. There's not been anything like this for almost 100 years, or over 100 years. The last such really deadly pandemic was the Spanish flu during and after the end of the First World War. And I have actually been looking online and at sources about the Spanish flu, and one thing I've noticed, even back then 100 years ago, if you look at the pictures, what do you see? People are wearing masks. So, and that is a respiratory disease that's spread via droplets, via coughing, sneezing, etc. So what did they do 100 years ago to stop the spread? Everybody wore masks. So if it was the right thing to do back then, I would suggest that it's the right thing to do now. So yeah, I mean, that's my perspective on the issues of masks. You may not like wearing them, and it can be quite uncomfortable, especially in a hot climate like Singapore. But in order to do the right thing and help cut transmission of this virus, it makes sense for everybody to wear masks. If you don't want to affect health workers and create a shortage for those people in your country and around the world, then just make your own. It would take probably an hour and a half to make one from a bit of cloth. Even if you have to hand sew it, you might have a sewing machine and a granny or a mother who's willing to help you run off a few masks. But knock a few up for the family in a half a day. I mean, what else have you got to do? You're sitting at home watching Netflix all day long. Spend half a day, do a project with the kids. Make a mask for yourself and your family. Slap it on when you go out, and Bob's your uncle. Anyway, that's my opinion on the issue. If you disagree with me or agree with me, then please leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you. So that's it for now. Until the next Corona update, take it easy guys. Over and out.